Okay, let's really unpack this today. We're diving into something pretty profound, a fascinating question, really. What exactly did the second God, often understood as God the Son or Jesus Christ, what did he purchase with his blood?
That's the core of it.
Was it just the church? Or are we talking like all of space and time? And this isn't some abstract theological point. It hits hard on divine ownership, judgment, the fate of everything, really.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating, you see, is how these different interpretations build on foundational ideas. They lead to, well, quite distinct understanding.
Both compelling, though.
Oh, definitely compelling. We'll look at the two main views, explore their arguments, and then try to connect them back to what atonement itself really means and how far it reaches.
Okay, great. So let's start with that first perspective, the one arguing the blood was shed, specifically for the church, or maybe for those with free will. What's the thinking there?
Well, this view really hangs on the idea of free will. The logic is pretty straightforward. Only beings with free will can actually commit sin.
Makes sense.
And if that's the case, then they're the only ones who, strictly speaking, need redemption by blood. The source puts it plainly. If there is no free will, sin itself cannot exist.
So space-time, planets, animals,
Right.
they can't sin, so no blood purchase needed for them.
Exactly. They might need renewal, cleansing, sure. But that's seen as something different from the blood purchase specifically tied to sin and free will.
Okay, that distinction is clear. Is there specific scriptural backing they point to for this more focused view?
Yes, quite a bit.
Ah.
Think about 1 Corinthians 6, verses 19 and 20. You were bought with a price. That's talking directly to believers.
Directly to people, yeah.
And Acts 20.28 is even more explicit. It says God purchased the church with his own blood.
Can't get much clearer than that.
Right. So the interpretation is that the blood's primary job was atoning for individual souls, for the church, specifically addressing sins committed via free will. It's about their redemption.
Okay. But then, as you said, there's this other view, one that really widens the lens quite dramatically. What does it propose about the blood's reach?
This second viewpoint is bold. It argues the destat. Second God's blood purchased, well, all of it. All of space and time.
Wow. The whole thing. What's the basis for that?
It stems from this idea of universal contamination. Sin, you see, didn't just stay contained with humans or angels. The source material explains that all creatures are suffering from sin, precisely because all of space-time is under the influence of sin.
So like a ripple effect that touched everything.
Exactly. I mean, the entire cosmos, everything in it, is tainted and therefore needs a comprehensive atonement, a cosmic solution for a cosmic problem.
Okay, so sin's reach is total, therefore the solution, the purchase, must also be total. How is that supported? Where do they draw that from?
They often point to the Old Testament rituals, specifically the Day of Atonement. Remember how the blood wasn't just for the people?
Right, it was used on the tabernacle, the altar.
Exactly. The source mentions it atoned for the tabernacle, the altar, and even extended, symbolically perhaps, to the heaven of angels and Hades.
Interesting.
The argument follows. Because sin has basically corrupted all of space-time, all of it needs to be washed, cleansed, and therefore bought by the blood.
So the blood isn't just about forgiveness, it's about reclaiming ownership.
That's a huge part of this view, reasserting divine ownership over a creation marred by sin. They might cite Colossians 1:2-2,
Which says
that through the cross, through his blood, peace was made with all things in heaven and on earth. That sounds pretty universal, implying a cosmic level impact and acquisition.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating for me. We have these two views, one focused on the church and free will, the other on all space-time. They seem almost opposed.
On the surface, yeah.
How do they connect? Or do they connect? Especially when we dig into what atonement actually means here.
That's the key question, isn't it? What is atonement? The source gives us a clue from the Hebrew, kafar. It means to cover.
To cover. Okay. So how does covering reconcile buying the church versus buying everything?
Well, think about what covering does. When God covers space-time with his blood, metaphorically speaking, everything related to sin within that space-time dies or is neutralized.
Okay.
But the effect isn't the same for everyone or everything under that cover. The blood acts as judgment for those who cling to sin.
Right.
And salvation for those who've abandoned sin and embraced the redemption offered.
So the application or the effect of the covering is different depending on the recipient.
Precisely. And here's the critical sequence, according to the source.
Yeah.
God covered us, the church, the believers, with his blood first. That's the personal buying with blood, the redemption aspect we talked about.
Securing individuals first.
Yes. Then, subsequently, his blood covers all of space-time. This cosmic covering deals with the universal taint of sin.
So because believers were already bought, already covered personally.
When the universal covering happens, they are saved through it. They're protected within that cleansing.
But those not bought personally?
Even though they exist within the space-time being covered or atoned for, because they haven't accepted that personal redemption, the covering ultimately signifies judgment for them.
So the blood does double duty, almost. It cleanses creation and establishes the grounds for final judgment and ownership.
Exactly. It's the mechanism for both personal salvation and reclaiming the entire cosmos, establishing God's ultimate ownership and enabling that final separation.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up then, what does this all mean for you listening right now? This deep dive really shows the immense scope we're talking about here. It goes from, intensely personal salvation all the way out to the cosmic destiny of literally everything. It's huge.
Yeah.
And connecting it to that bigger picture, it really challenges you to think about just how far-reaching this act of shedding blood was. Is it just about a specific group?
Or is it this fundamental act that reclaims and redefines the entire universe under God's authority? It really makes you consider the layers of purpose.
Multi-layered is a good way to put it. So it leaves us and you with a powerful thought to mull over. If the second God's blood truly has this all-encompassing reach, this power to cover, cleanse, purchase, and establish ownership, what does that really imply about the ultimate fate of everything we see, touch, experience, and maybe more importantly, where do we fit into that vast cosmic plan?